of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
세계 5색 인종은 모두 동등한 가치를 갖고 태어났습니다. 인종에 관한 하나님은 생명입니다. 생명. 21세기는 함께 더불어 사는 초인종, 초국가, 초종교의 시대입니다. 참사랑을 지배하는 시대가 열렸다는 말입니다.
A clear voice awakens humankind's original nature. And the messages of peace which transform this era and people's lives resounds once again throughout this land on this day. In the 21st century, war, famine, climate change, and political confrontations are overwhelming. From within the blinding darkness, leaders have offered a new path, and with indomitable spirit, they are leading us to an era of harmony and peace. During this great turning point in human civilization, which has opened the door to a new millennium, what message should we listen to? Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon has embraced the world with the heart of a true mother. She has preached about the vision of a heavenly world in which we live together peacefully and attend God. She is spreading the vision of one human family under God.
우리 다 함께, 나와 함께 손에 손을 잡고 모든 나라들이 하나님 앞에 한 형제 자매로서 인류 한 가족의 꿈을 실현하는 그날을 향해 총진군하기를 부탁하며 축원합니다.
The era of conquering, pillaging, and enmity has ended. We now know the era of heavenly civilization has come, in which we become one human family under God. The message of true love is being conveyed with the heart of a mother giving birth to new life from Asia to North America, Africa, Europe, Central America, and South America. The impossible dream is becoming a great reality. UPF, as an NGO with general consultative status in the United Nations, ECOSOC, has branches in 150 nations globally and is causing a new awakening about the UN. UPF has established platforms for solidarity and cooperation between parliamentarians of various nations for the advancement of humankind. The establishment of IAPD has opened our eyes to the original purpose of religion and is bearing fruit through its True Family Blessings activities. Reverend and Mrs. Moon's work is supporting the dreams and cultivating the talent of youth and students who will become the owners of the next generation. It is spreading a global agenda for countering climate change, preserving the environment, and solving the refugee problem. Their work has also gathered the wisdom of scientists from around the world. For the last 4 years, the vision of an international peace highway which begins from the Cape of Good Hope and connects the world in less than a day's travel has taken shape through the Peace Road project to connect the world through peace.
희망봉에서 부터 아프리카 대륙을 거쳐 유럽 대륙, 유라시아, 아시아로 해서 한국으로 통하는 평화 고속도로를 제창합니다. 그래서 인류가 서로 소통하고 높고 낮음이 없는 자유, 평등, 평화, 통일의 행복한 지상 천국을 이루는 데 있어서 아프리카 대륙이 나와 함께 나아가 주기를 축원합니다.
A message of peace to transform this era and people's lives. This is our dream and our shared vision. Today, the era of one human family under God has begun. A new chapter in history commences for a heavenly Africa now.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, well, welcome to Africa Speaks of today. I do hope that you had a wonderful weekend, and I do hope that you've just seen that wonderful video, which obviously introduces today's program. Universal Peace Federation is fighting for peace in the world, and how far are they going to go to achieve this? With me in the studio is Robin Marsh, who is the Secretary General. The Secretary General, yes,
Yes,
of
yes.
Universal Peace Federation here in London.
Yes.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's a wonderful job, looking for peace, and especially in Africa, we really need the peace. We really, really need the peace, because without the peace, a lot has happened. Now, the African Union, the United Nations, these organizations have embraced United Peace Federation. And the job that you're doing, the ambassadors you create every now and then, and the biggest roles that you have. But I need our viewers to understand, what is Universal Peace Federation?
Universal Peace Federation was started in 2005.
Yeah.
It came on the basis of a number of other organizations.
Yeah.
So it was inheriting their foundation, and it became like an umbrella organization for those.
Okay.
So it is largely a vision of humanity being one family under a divine being.
Yeah.
And in that basis, it's interfaith, interreligious, intercultural. It brings people from all backgrounds, all cultures, all races. And the idea is that we share each other's problems, we share each other's blessings, but we have this sense of living for the sake of others.
Okay. The biggest problem is that somebody listening to us or viewing us, say, interfaith, where you got all of them mixed up under the same roof. The chances are that religious groups are different. The beliefs are, we believe in the same God, but there is that element of where we differ in the way we worship, in the way we believe in it. How do you manage to get that? Get the Muslims, get the Christians, get the whatever into the same roof? Isn't that one of the most difficult things?
I think people who are really solid in their faith, they don't have a problem with someone else who is also quite harmonious in their faith. The problem is when people aren't fulfilling the tenets of their faith.
Yeah.
That's when we have an issue. Or when people are immature in their faith.
Yeah.
But people who have a strong faith, then they can see strong faith in others.
Okay. Well, I see that, but do they agree willingly to come and attend? Now, there's a big conference in South Africa, which is probably taking place right now. Again, it has embraced the whole of Africa. And in the film, we've seen Mandela, we've seen the words of Mandela, we've seen the words of the others who are all embracing the same kind of, we need peace in the world. We need all that. But at the same time, it's a question of, okay, there is always that nagging feeling that somebody else won't accept what, even in South Africa, I had South Africans here, and there was still an African and a white South African. They were still not agreeing on a number of issues. But you seem to have that element, when I look at the video and I look at the conferences you've had, that people sit down under the same roof and their differences seem to be forgotten. Is there magic, some kind of magic that is done?
There's a lot of pain
Yeah.
and a lot of trauma that's gone in the past, and somehow we have to develop the compassion to embrace that, to realize that, to acknowledge when people are close to us have been wrong.
Okay.
Maybe our ancestors, maybe our older peers,
Yeah.
our older group, they've done a lot of wrong. And we have to, in a sense, say sorry, to
Yeah.
apologize, to humble ourselves to others
Yeah.
in order to make that harmony.
Yeah. Apologies, yes. The success is probably one of the things that I'm looking for, because someone else would always say, look, however much apologies, because even now, as I speak to you, there's a group here in UK that is advocating for Britain making an apology over the slave trade, what they call repatriations in Jamaica and other parts of America, saying, look, the Western world, because of what the gains which took place over the years, 400 years of slavery and so on, therefore there must be some kind of compensation in a way. Whereas the Western world is saying, look, that's a chapter which was closed years ago, and we should reopen it. However many apologies you're going to accept, to give, some people won't accept that. And there has to be a way in which I believe your organization can say, you know what, this is how we can succeed with the others who are demanding repatriation. Is there a way? How do you see that? Can that be possible?
I think in the long run, we have to be good partners. We have this phrase of being interconnected, of being mutually prosperous, and sharing universal values. In that sense, we have to be good partners. Actually, the West is suffering if Africa is not developed. The skills and the blessings, the talents of African people is not developed. Everyone in the world is losing out.
Yeah.
Because we're losing from the inventions, the creativity.
That could come from Africa.
Yes. Everyone is losing if we're all not fulfilling our talents.
Yeah, yeah.
So therefore, yes, we should do more to help Africa to develop its talents and develop its skills. Not to take over, not to try to dominate, but actually to help it to blossom.
Because there's always the issue of money being a key element, which I've seen here in so many times, where there's always going to say, with more funding, or they should put more money back in because they took a lot of money out of it. And they are looking at it from that sense, because even back home in Africa and in other African countries, even in Asia, they are saying, look, there has to be some kind of compensation in terms of money. And that compensation is not something that is going to be forthcoming. In order for us to listen to that, then we need to do something about it. Do you guys see it in that sort of format? Do you think that would work?
I think it has to be done in a way that, yes, as I said before, we could become good partners. Whether that's helping, sending our young people to work together, sending our talented people to help develop countries. But usually, I think the growth has to come from people taking ownership.
Yeah.
And I think some of the biggest problems are not so much the repatriation of money, but it's more stopping our multinational corporations exploiting relationships with elites in African countries. I think there has to be like a mutually beneficial partnership between the West and Africa, between the East and Africa, but one in which is the benefit for everyone, not just the elites in those countries.
But when you look at it, if you talk to the multinationals, because they hold the key to most of this, the oil companies, the bigger, they all hold the key. Now, the African countries, the leaders of Africa, are not willing to do the leaders of Africa are not willing, for example, to relinquish power, or are not willing to say, okay, this is what we do. Now, unless they are forced by the multinational companies, say, look, if we don't do this, this is what is going to happen, which the multinational companies don't want to do. So it's a kind of a catch-22 situation, because they are getting money from Africa and they're not willing to talk to them. Some of them are just busy dealing deals. I mean, an issue in Southern Sudan, the war that took place there, all companies were getting their money. They didn't care about whether the Africans are being killed or not. As far as they are concerned, their money was going in. Not until the African Union and maybe even various governments from the started putting their foot down and say, hang on a minute, you've had enough. This is it. In the end, the company said they were leaving. Then peace came up, because once they knew they would go, then they wouldn't sell their oil anywhere. The Northern Sudanese had to sit down and talk. But how do we, how do we force these companies to act on behalf of Africans? How do we force them? Because maybe an organizations like yours can act.
I think there are sufficient laws in place in different countries.
Yeah.
In the UK, there are sufficient laws already to hold companies to account.
Yeah.
But we have to promote education of good governance, of educating people in better values. And through those values, then these errors, these wrongs will be corrected, because people will rise up.
Yeah.
They will also, people will of good conscience will identify the wrongs that are happening.
That has to be people from the West, not in Africa.
I
think so.
Both in Africa and in the West. And the leaks that are happening in different parts of the world, these will happen more and more. But it requires good governance, it requires character education, it requires many things that are ongoing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. I'm looking now at the many projects that are taking place in Africa. This is a very wonderful thing. There's quite a lot going on in terms of education, in terms of various issues that your charity does on the continent. And the fact that it is a very unique charity. It deals with the peacemakers. It deals with the dialogues in various areas, which is a major problem in Africa, because there isn't really much dialogue, there isn't really much peace when you go. It's a question of how you approach people from, is it some kind, do you require some kind of special training? Maybe I should go and get that as well, because to approach different people to be peacemakers, there has to be some kind of special training.
I think when people approach with sincerity, when they can see the potential goodness in everyone, that tends to draw out goodness in people.
Okay.
So when you see and you treat someone with the value of being a son or daughter of God, no matter what background they come from, people feel that, and it tends to draw out that goodness within others.
Because the reason why I'm looking at that question much more is that when it comes to us as Africans with ourselves, there is a bigger difference than when it comes to you, because you have gone through this over the years, and the Labour government or the Conservative or whoever, you can exchange punches, but you look at what is on the constitution, what you have done. You look at your parliament, you look at your laws. In America, they're chasing
Right.
Donald Trump now for his wrongs and all that. You can see that there's the law which is there. Now, the difference in Africa is that we don't have that. And we're having that problem in the sense that, okay, you can bring in the dialogue. But at the same time, we don't have a system which says a president should, this is what happens. It has to be from his conscience. And we have fought so much to get their conscience.
Sure.
If we want them out of office, for example, or if we want them to treat others nicely. That's what I'm saying. When it comes to us as individuals, unless it's brought in by you from outside, it's not something that's working. And I'm trying to find a way of thinking, does it require special education to bring it in? What does it require?
I think it's true in the West we've had a longer democratic tradition. In the UK we've had 800 years since the Magna Carta. But at the same time we have many problems.
I know.
We've got nothing to boast about. But I think together we can learn from each other. Africa has a Bantu philosophy, the sense of, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Africa has many traditions of wisdom that we can also learn from. So I don't think that we have all the answers and Africa doesn't. I think that we need to work together in this mutually beneficial partnership. Through that, we'll go much further, like Ubuntu. If we go together, we can go.
Ubuntu, I think they call it Ubuntu. Something like that. Live togetherness.
Ubuntu. Then the sense of living together, of working together, then we can go much further.
Okay. Tell me about the projects that you have at the moment that Universal Peace Federation are doing in Africa.
Currently, the co-founder of Universal Peace Federation, Mother Moon, Dr. Hachan Moon, she is on a world tour, so she has had a number of summits in different countries, particularly working together with the head of state of a country. So last year she went to Senegal, and President Macky Sall, he supported a conference, and he invited a number of heads of state and other notable figures. We went to Sao Tome, we went to South Africa, as you said. We're going soon to Niger, and to other places. And ultimately she'll end up in New York having a World Clergy Leadership Conference, which will maybe be focused on Christianity, but we'll have many other faiths also attending. But the idea is to bring out this sense of humanity being one family. That we are interconnected. We all have the same color blood.
I know.
We all have the same organs. We have so much in common. Even the religious traditions, mostly they're the same. There are some faith statements which are different, but 80-90% of each faith is the same.
Now, I read an article in the Guardian newspaper here in London, and the focus was on the Moon family. And the whole idea was that the kind of cult, because the Western world, I should believe, the British Americans, look at Reverend Moon as somebody who's created a cult. Now we are looking at it in a different way. Someone has come up with an idea, and the message I got from there was that if something is not started from the West, if it started from somewhere else, there is always a tendency to say that it's not really that nice. But the irony is it has embraced. You have embraced it, not just you, but so many other white people have embraced it and seeing it as it. But the governments, the Western governments, have not embraced it, and they are really looking at Reverend Moon as someone else who is also, one of the major cults in Asia, who is trying to go around the world with whatever is going through, and the marriages, this, that, and how do you view this negativity? How do you view them, and
Sure.
how do you defend yourself over these? As a member of the organization anyway, so I don't know whether you have an idea on that.
I think we can use various words for a religious movement.
Yeah.
We use the word, a derogative word like
Yeah,
cult.
yeah,
It
yeah.
usually means that it's a religion you don't like.
Yeah, that's what it means. Yeah.
But it's not bad to be skeptical about a religious faith in its early stages.
Yeah.
To watch and see how it grows,
Progress,
how it progresses. So Jesus said, you can judge a tree by its fruits.
Yeah.
So therefore, if we see good fruits coming from something, then we can see that tree is based on good roots. I can see many good things
Coming from there, yeah.
developing from the unification movement as a whole. Universal Peace Federation comes not just to promote one faith,
Yeah.
but to promote a
All
sense of
the-
humanity working together.
It's togetherness.
Yes, and we want to take the fruits of that harmony, the fruits of the different wisdoms of the different traditions, and work together to solve the problems that we all face together. And some things like climate change or poverty, these issues are things that we need to work together
Yeah.
to solve. We can't solve them
Yeah.
alone. Climate change is something that affects all of us.
Yeah, I know.
And Mother Moon, Father Moon, when he was alive, they came up with quite innovative
Yeah, ideas of
solutions,
Yeah.
movements of reforming the UN, of politicians and religious leaders working together to bring two different sets of skills together to work harmoniously.
What beats me is that why isn't it that the British government, for example, the American government, the German government, most of the Western governments, this is where they would say, hey, hang on a minute, there's something very nice here. We need to put, say, 10, 15 million in this project and see that, that because it's creating peace throughout the world. It's creating peace in Africa. But I think, I can't remember whether it was Tony Blair or it was John Major, one of the top prime ministers, also made a comment about it. It's, like I said, they are looking at it from a very different angle, and it's what beats most of us who are, reading, when we read all this information, and this is where it comes from. And I say, what is it that they see that we can't see? That is what I was trying to find out. Why is it that the governments themselves, they should embrace this? Because the African governments and the African Union and the UN is embracing them. Why can't you embrace it?
In the West, each country has a different situation. But often a religion goes through this kind of path of initially maybe flourishing, then facing a backlash or some skepticism. But through the test of time, things change, and we've been around a little bit longer now than I think in the 80s we were receiving some negativity.
Oh yeah, it was quite a lot in the 80s, because
But that's
it was
died down quite a lot.
Yeah, it has died down because I think they're probably seeing the results of what is being achieved, especially during the peace conferences. They're seeing the embracing of that.
And we've developed many friendships and built many bridges. So things have changed. I joined this movement in 1980.
Okay.
So I've gone through these phases.
But don't you think maybe it should be that living in the West, there could be an idea and say, look, I think let's win over the West first before we go on trying to win the other parts of the world. If we can win the United Kingdom, if we can win America, then the chances are we'll probably go and win in Africa and win others much easily, because I would see that as a pivotal moment in the organization's history. Don't you think that would be an idea?
It's, in a sense, when you have something good to give.
Yeah.
Why keep it for just one area? we have many blessings to give.
Yeah.
And so why not give it to in all parts of the world, and
Yeah.
we'll see who responds the most quickly.
Yeah, who it needs most. Now, the turning back on you yourself and the fact that you joined in the 80s at such a time when there was a lot of criticism for it, because the 80s and I think the 70s were such critical moments in the history of the Unification Church. I think there was a lot. There was a lot going, especially in America, and you faced these challenges, and you still stood.
I think when I met Father Moon, Mother Moon, they had such an image of what the world could be,
Okay.
and they were so warm to us, but they were also warm to people who were persecuting them or talking badly about them.
Yeah.
They did not have hatred inside of them, and for that reason, I think it has allowed us to reach out to all kinds of people. Those who are against us, then we look forward to the point in which they can see differently.
Okay.
Because we're not trying to exploit, or we're not trying to use people.
Yeah.
We are reaching out so that we can build peace together.
Okay. Now, Africa has a gender gap issue, which is the cultures we have put women in certain areas and also put men in certain areas. And I think in one of the conferences which was held in Senegal, this issue was raised, and several of them were saying, look, we still, several other African heads of state, I don't know whether it was one from Senegal or and others, because of our culture beliefs,
Sure.
and our, is that we put women in certain areas. Africa has always been a male-dominated society. Women are coming up, which is quite very good. We respect them coming up, it's good. But then it is a quick movement, which is being brought up by the organization. In that they're climbing the ladder too quickly, and that this is becoming too fast for some men. I don't know whether there should be a way in which you say, look, let's first understand it, especially when you're saying interfaith, and you look at the Muslims. The Muslims have a way in which they approach the whole issue of women praying differently. Children are in their angle, these are here. Isn't it too fast?
What I've often felt about women's rights, and I think Father and Mother Moon talked about the age of women. In a sense, just as we were saying before, humanity is losing out through not utilizing the skills and development of women. Not that women have every answer, but again, this good partnership, which men and women can work together. I think it was a McKinsey report that came out and said, actually, that the more that we utilize the skills of women in our economy in a balanced way, the more that our economy will develop. And even in decision making, to have women on boards in a balanced way, more than 30% of a board, then decision making improved, the quality of decision making improved. And they were more profitable. Companies became more profitable, more successful. Investors wanted women on boards because their investments were more safe.
I do agree that, but what I think the president of Senegal was saying at the time was that if it becomes too quick, if it comes in stages, then it's fine. I mean, if you look at Saudi Arabia at the moment, women were not even driving in the 21st century. But as time has come on, now they're allowed to drive. Soon they're running for offices, higher offices in the land. But they are saying, look, it's the steps which are being taken. But when it came to that conference in Senegal, it was that, oh no, we must. Which was too quick, and I said, look, I think if we do it quickly, there are those what are they called? are not radicals as such, but there are those who are traditionists
Right.
who will view it and say, look, our positions are being threatened now. We're doing.
I think you're right. Like step by step, these changes need to be made, and that people need to reflect, and through their own inner conscience and understanding of faith, I think God will speak in a quiet way, and we'll be able to reflect. Many changes are happening all the time.
Yeah.
Human life has never been static.
I know.
But changes will happen. But as you said, they come step by step, and the pioneers always go through a lot of flack and difficulty.
I know. It's not easy.
Yes.
Now there is something which keeps on affecting Africa, which is the biggest. It's in fact President Obama called it. He called it a cancer which has existed in Africa for years, and which is going to take years and years to get out of the system, and that is corruption. You're in there, you hold conferences in there,
Right.
had peacemakers, but the very peacemakers are confronted with corruption as well in whatever they're trying to do. And how is this being handled by the Universal Peace Federation? Because you could go somewhere and somebody says, we need 40 million to do this, and you're saying your conscience doesn't allow you to give this man, one individual, 20 million or 5 million, or even £100,000 for a project to be done. But the person says, if I'm not giving that, I'm not putting my signature down. How do you deal with that?
I'm not so aware of how the leaders of UPF are handling that particular issue in Africa. I can't speak authoritatively on that. I know, coming from Korea, then that also had a corruption problem.
The reason why I'm asking that is that there was a conference which was supposed to be held in another African country other than Senegal and South Africa, because those, and it was supposed to be in one other African country. But what left them, I can't remember which other countries, it was Ghana, or Uganda, Nigeria, one of those top African countries, and it had to be moved. It had to be moved because the people behind where there was something issue to do with the money. And
that's
what
something
I'm saying,
I can't talk about.
My
primary role and responsibilities here in the UK. So in that sense, I'm not in those authoritative positions. But I would say in Korea they had a similar problem.
Okay.
But these things need to be dealt with in a family way, and then we know in order to grow, we have to overcome this issue. In the West, we have varying degrees of solving this problem. Generally, Northern Europe has dealt with it better than Southern Europe. But these things do take time to resolve. Lesotho is doing an amazing job of overcoming corruption. There have been other stars of Africa in solving this problem.
Yeah, but their cases, I think the difference is because the head of state and the people within the governments, because if you are to solve Africa's problem, you have to start from the top. Now, if you get the leaders who are not corrupt, then the chances that it goes down. But if you get the leaders on top who in a different world, then it becomes very different to eliminate it, and that's why Lesotho is succeeding as far as that is concerned.
I was just looking at Transparency International and their rankings of various countries. But it's not something the West can say, "Oh, we've solved it." And it's a problem that needs a free press. It needs honest reflection. But if we have a real faith in God, an honest faith in God, we can't take money which is public money for ourselves. And think this problem will be solved in many different ways, but education,
Yeah.
by honest faith education as well as within the curriculum of the schools. We need to set a new standard of patriotism,
Yeah.
whereby money is upheld as having a noble value for the whole
For
country.
everybody, yeah.
There are horrible examples of people in the West colluding with
I do.
with others,
Yeah.
and we haven't solved the problems of tax havens.
Yeah,
But
that's
this
another
is
thing,
an
yeah.
international problem. It's not just a problem
For
of the
Africa,
West.
Yeah, it is. The issue of now looking at other companies, say for example the multinational companies, if we're dealing with them, and the structure which could easily be set and saying, look, this is what we are. You've got to set the standards, as we said at the beginning. Can you work with us to set these standards? Send in people from your, from your companies to go and work and help us in peace building in Africa, and because then we'll be fighting corruption there.
Right.
Have you dealt with these multinational companies as far as this is concerned?
Personally, I haven't done so much.
Yeah.
I was helping some other NGOs and working with them who were working on conflict minerals,
Oh yeah.
for example,
in Congo.
and other issues.
Mm.
These are things where we need to make good partnerships,
Yeah.
but it's not something that we can say we've solved the problem.
No.
Africa has a problem. It's something we need to work together, because selfishness takes many different forms, and we need to deal with it together, but honestly, and reflecting on our own faith, but looking to work together, to form dialogues, to form relationships whereby we can work on these issues together.
Now, during the peace summits, I haven't had a chance to go to, but I've been at the London office in Lancaster Gate.
Yes.
When we were having one and we were celebrating Africa Day. I remember this year.
It was
this
wonderful.
year. It was a wonderful,
Yes.
dancers and everything. It
Yes.
was quite good, and the lessons that were, of course, we were learning from various people, and the whole reconciliation program was very, very good. People talk about their problems and they come out. Once they come out, then others learn from them and take it on board, which is quite good. And,
Yes.
Yeah, but at the same time, there is that element of education, which I realized when I was at the Lancaster Gate conference, that there are certain things that are to do, as you said, with education. And that education, much as it comes from us talking about our problems, but we don't come up with a solution. We don't just say, okay, Robin has said this, which has affected him, but what we do as far as that is concerned. That's one thing I discovered during that conference, because again, it's what South Africa discovered during the reconciliation, truth and reconciliation, when people were talking about the past.
Right.
And then reconciled by shaking hands, by agreeing and so on. But then there's still the question of saying, okay, if this thing happened, it's a long time ago, how do we reconcile that it doesn't happen again? That is what I discovered during that conference, that it didn't really come up. Is there a way in future where you're going to make sure that this thing is taught and it's a lesson to everybody?
I think there needs to be better character education. One thing the Unification Movement, the UPF, Universal Peace Federation, has promoted is character education,
Okay.
whereby we can understand how it is to relate to each other as human beings, how we can be responsible people, how we can, in a sense, live for the sake of others, to live for a greater cause, put the whole before ourselves. Because if we have this good character education, then we look at each other differently. We look at corruption and we can see that it's wrong. We need to put the nation first before ourselves, and put the continent before us, before our nation, and put the community of nations before our individual nation. if we have this framework
Yeah.
of living for the sake of others, then everything comes into harmony. The individual lives for the nation lives for the individual. So it's not this corruption, but actually it's using money for the education, for health,
Yeah.
for the development of the future economy, of infrastructure, etc. If we can get this into balance,
Yeah.
and character education has a key role to play.
I remember somebody from Malaysia spoke during that conference, and I don't know whether it was a lady or one gentleman from Malaysia. There were two, a lady and a gentleman, and they were discussing how Malaysia has fought corruption and how where the education structure goes right through the schools, which I thought would be a very good model for Africa and for Universal Peace Federation to follow, in a sense that if you go straight to the schools and teach the under 14s and the under 16s, right, the setup of government, for example, where money from the government goes to do the roads, to build the schools and build them. So Malaysia has done this over the years to such a way that the future leaders tomorrow have come in from when they were 16 or 17. Something's being drummed into their heads about if you're going to be a council leader, if you're going to be a prime minister, if you're going to be, by the time you're 16, 17, you know the value of money and you know what the hospitals mean to the entire community, which is not the case in Africa. We're not told that, you know. And I thought Universal Peace Federation could have taken that on board, especially by two of their leading members, in the sense that if we start teaching this in Africa, in schools in Africa,
and we are teaching character education in different parts of Africa.
Of Africa, yeah,
And
okay.
also in different parts of the world where it's possible and it's allowed. We do have some character education textbooks, etc. that are currently being translated into Arabic.
Oh, in Arabic, okay, that's great, that's great.
And also, formerly I know through the International Education Foundation, there were a set of textbooks for character education at different stages of a child's life, from much earlier than 14, but I think from even 6 or 7 years old.
Okay, okay.
I think as early as possible we need to teach not just skills. We don't want to make more brilliant Hitlers.
No.
Or we want to make people who gain great skills, but use them in the right way for the benefit of humanity. And then we'll find great scientists from Africa solving
some of the world's problems. The thing is, what are the difficulties then involved in introducing that in Africa? Because I know trust you're going to find difficult in African educational structures that have been there since the 60s, since the 40s, and they find it difficult to change their educational structure. So if you're going to introduce that to Uganda, for example, where I come from, or Kenya or Tanzania, the chances are the Minister of Education will say, well, yeah, it's a good, but no thank you. You're going to find, is there another way in which you probably say, look, I think we need to educate the Minister of Education or the Minister of this to do this? Because I think Ghana is trying something. I watched the Ghanaian Minister of Education talking to Kenya, and he was saying a structure which he had put in Ghana schools, which I really admire. But
that's wonderful.
Yeah, and you guys, if you had to approach them, and they probably listen, is there a way in which this can happen?
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure through these summits and these large conferences in different countries, then these networks are being built, and different models of character education will be compared and contrasted, and we'll find the best practice.
Yeah. The South African one, which is taking place now, you got any news about how it's going? That would be interesting.
I don't have so much news myself, but I know there will be a focus on the family particularly.
Oh, the family, yeah.
And the family is a major thing that the Universal Peace Federation is promoting, the sense of keeping families together, of mum and dad living together for a long time, like your parents.
Yeah.
And raising their children well. And giving them a good model of how to live harmoniously.
I have to tell you that I just told Robin here that, yeah, my dad is 95, my mom is 80, 81, 82, and they've been together for...
all power to them.
Well, I don't know, maybe 60 years or something like that. And, well, the usual kind of things happening in families. So I think that's what Robin is,
Sure.
is
That's
talking
a
about.
wonderful model.
Yeah, yeah, it is,
That
it is. And
husband and wife stay together,
Yeah.
and they give a really strong basis for their children to
Yeah.
also learn from and raise their children. And that way, these loving families, then God can be part of those families. And in South Africa and other places, Father and Mother Moon have promoted this family. Mother Moon is coming and promoting a blessing on marriages, which is taking part in many countries around the world.
Okay, okay. The thing is, the structure is quite good. As you are saying, it's quite good. And I do believe that there'll be a lot that can easily be dealt with in terms of there'll be a lot dealt with in terms of what am I trying to say? There'll be a lot dealt with as far as projects of family projects are concerned, but the issue that is difficult now is to tell the leaders, to sell this to the leaders. It has been the biggest problem in Africa, is that it's one thing, as you're saying, you're getting African scientists and all the others, but to sell an idea to the African leaders over something, it could be as simple as keeping a family together. It could be as simple as introducing football or something like that to schools and saying, look, this is going to benefit the society and so on. It could be any of those things, but there is that element of what do I get out of it? And that is what is, you need to see how you can beat them over that. That is what I've always been trying to advocate and say, if you can find a way of jumping over that, then the chances that the rest of it will work because the people at the top have dealt with that. So that is why I'm always insisting, say, look, if you can find a solution to the top people, the bottom person has not, you'll be welcome.
Often the solution comes on many different levels, but you're right, the heads of state, the heads of government have a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
So creating forums by which they can meet each other and have dialogue, and they can hear from other parts of the world where problems that they have been solved by best practice. Mainly in our conferences, then there will be lots of different leaders of different kinds of in academia, in business, and so on. That it forms a good place to network and to find solutions.
Now, this being a charitable organization, obviously you do fundraising and you do raise money every now and then. What are the difficulties involved now in saying that, because holding a conference like that one in South Africa could take you back something like nearly £200,000. If you have these people coming with the hotels. I've seen the one in London here, I've seen the one in US, and I've seen, okay, I haven't been to them, but when you see the gathering and the people who are turning up and how the entire thing is, it costs an arm and a leg to do. Where does this money come from?
So each project has its own funding source, but often it's businesses, it's people making donations.
Oh, right, yeah.
But there is a network of businesses that have been built up since the 60s. So they've been well established, which are supporting these activities. And each nation for Universal Peace Federation is autonomous. So we have different, we have a different funding system.
Okay. Oh yeah, for particularly
in the UK,
where the conferences are
UPF is a charity, and it's monitored by Charity Commission, but it also has funding from other charities.
Is there joint ventures, which would say, for example, if you're making, you have a conference like the one in South Africa, where the government is involved, and other multinational organizations are involved, and you do a joint conference.
I'm sure there are partnerships and different arrangements made. I haven't been so involved in them, so I can't speak. I can't speak authoritatively.
Yeah,
about that.
the reason I'm asking that is that in most of these cases, you're going to find that if somebody is giving you something, there is always one hand takes and the other one takes from that. There is that element of being overshadowed by someone else who is also involved in organizing this and saying, look, this is what I want. You must do this for me, which on the other hand could work against the conscience of so many people.
And often it can be a win-win situation where
yeah.
a sponsor has his logo portrayed and so on.
Yeah. Right. We're coming towards the end of the program, and one thing which I probably want to find out is how do you see the future, for example, especially involving Africans in educations, things you've talked about, in other things that you're trying to do. Do you see that the African future in terms of forgetting wars on the continent and forgetting getting over the interest rate, getting over corruption, getting over, do you see that coming up at the end of the 21st century?
Well, when I look at Mother Moon says recently last year in Senegal, she talked about heavenly Africa, new Africa, that there was a new time, a new era coming to Africa. It was a continent of hope. She had a very different vision for Africa. And I think she sees heaven's blessing coming to Africa because Africa is a very fervent country in terms of its religion and its religious ethos.
Yeah.
It has qualities that God can bless.
Yeah.
She also, together with Father Moon, spoke a lot about religion and politics working together. And that maybe sometimes has worked wrongly in the past.
Yeah, so many times, yeah.
But it also has a good model in that religious leaders who are thinking of living for the sake of others, who actually work cooperatively with other religions, have a sense of how can I bring God's blessing to this country or to this continent. And political leaders, they think about maybe their next election or their constituents, their voters. But in a sense, they have the skill of how to divide resources amongst their followers. So if the two skills come together, one to bring God's blessing to a particular country or wider, another to how to balance resources and satisfy both the majority and the minority, then those two skills can form a different vision for Africa and different vision for the world. And I think if it's used in that way, it can bring great blessing to Africa.
Yeah. I do hope that you're right, though, because when it comes to that, when it comes to the blessings, we all wake up every morning and say, "Oh, I think this is the day that we are going to have the best of the days," or "This is the day that somebody's going to think about the changes that are going to happen on the continent."
We have to have a positive. We have to have positive perspectives.
Believe me, there's so many positive people in Africa. But there's so many positive. Every day.
Work hard and be positive.
Yeah. Well,
and keep strong faith.
Yeah. The message I think has gone across. Work hard.
Keep positive.
Keep positive.
Love everyone.
Love everyone. It's the fourth one. There's a
and
three.
strong faith.
Wow. Okay. Strong
Centered
faith.
on God.
Strong faith. Work hard. What else? Okay. We'll go through them. I just want to say thank you very much for coming the program and telling us all about this, and I do hope that we'll be together next time for another edition of this program, and maybe you tell us more about the conferences that are taking place, especially on the African continent. I just want to say thank you all for viewing us, and I do hope we'll be together again next week for another edition of Africa Speaks. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Africa is the land of hope. And true peace is conveyed on this land.
the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
세계 5색 인종은 모두 동등한 가치를 갖고 태어났습니다. 인종에 관한 한 하나님은 생명입니다. 생명. 21세기는 함께 더불어 사는 초인종, 초국가, 초종교의 시대입니다. 참사랑을 지배하는 시대가 열렸다는 말입니다.
A clear voice awakens humankind's original nature. And the messages of peace which transform this era and people's lives resounds once again throughout this land on this day. In the 21st century, war, famine, climate change, and political confrontations are overwhelming. From within the blinding darkness, leaders have offered a new path, and with indomitable spirit, they are leading us to an era of harmony and peace. During this great turning point in human civilization, which has opened the door to a new millennium, what message should we listen to? Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon has embraced the world with the heart of a true mother. She has preached about the vision of a heavenly world in which we live together peacefully and attend God. She is spreading the vision one human family under God.
우리 다 함께 나와 함께 손에 손을 잡고 모든 나라들이 하나님 앞에 한 형제 자매로서 인류 한 가족의 꿈을 실현하는 그날을 향해 총진군하기를 부탁하며 축원합니다.
The era of conquering, pillaging, and enmity has ended. We now know the era of heavenly civilization has come, in which we become one human family under God. The message of true love is being conveyed with the heart of a mother giving birth to new life from Asia to North America, Africa, Europe, Central America, and South America. The impossible dream is becoming a great reality. UPF, as an NGO with general consultative status in the United Nations, ECOSOC, has branches in 150 nations globally and is causing a new awakening about the UN. UPF has established platforms for solidarity and cooperation between parliamentarians of various nations for the advancement of humankind. The establishment of IAPD has opened our eyes to the original purpose of religion and is bearing fruit through its True Family Blessings activities. Reverend and Mrs. Moon's work is supporting the dreams and cultivating the talent of youth and students who will become the owners of the next generation. It is spreading a global agenda for countering climate change, preserving the environment, and solving the refugee problem. Their work has also gathered the wisdom of scientists from around the world. For the last 4 years, the vision of an international peace highway which begins from the Cape of Good Hope and connects the world in less than a day's travel has taken shape through the Peace Road project to connect the world through peace.
희망봉에서부터 아프리카 대륙을 거쳐 유럽 대륙, 유라시아, 아시아로 해서 한국으로 통하는 평화 고속도로를 제창합니다. 그래서 인류가 서로 소통하고 높고 낮음이 없는 자유, 평등, 평화, 통일의 행복한 지상 천국을 이루는 데 있어서 아프리카 대륙이 나와 함께 나아가 주기를 축원합니다.
A message of peace to transform this era and people's lives. This is our dream and our shared vision. Today, the era of one human family under God has begun. A new chapter in history commences for a heavenly Africa now.